Want your makeup to look soft and simple on a daily basis without doing too much? Well, here are some do's and don'ts to my everyday makeup routine in 2025. I always start by making sure my hands are washed and clean without anything on them, and then going into my skin with a nice moisturizer to making sure that I'm not dry when doing my makeup. When applying your moisturizer to your face, you always want to make sure you use small amounts or dime size amounts on your face, so that way when you're rubbing it in, you're not using too much moisturizer and you're not having a hard time rubbing it in on your face. You also want to make sure you hit your forehead, any T-zone areas on your face, or anywhere that's really dry. Also, make sure you moisturize your neck because you will use makeup down there. Next, you want to go in with the Power Grip Primer. I recommend e.l.f. It works really well. Add small amounts to your cheekbones, your forehead, your chin, or your neck, all places that you might be applying foundation. You also want to make sure that you're rubbing in that primer as well, so that way when you blend, it's all blended in. I cannot stress this enough. Do not use those beauty blenders fresh out of the pack. You always want to make sure you wet your beauty blender when using it, because if you use it when it's hard, it's not going to blend as well. As you can see, this is a hard beauty blender when it's not wet, and then this is a soft one when it's wet. For my foundation, I go with my Real Techniques foundation brush in the number 202 before pouring my foundation on the back of my hand. You never want to directly pour foundation on your face because it's going to be too much, always too much. Then I take my finger and I warm up that foundation on the back of my hand before dotting it on my face and before blending it in. This plays a big part when you're blending in your makeup to never pour the foundation on your face. Then you want to put it all in your T-zone areas, same thing as if you're moisturizing your face. Then you go in with that same foundation brush and you just blend everything out. I highly recommend to keep blending until you feel like you cannot blend anymore. Also, make sure you get underneath your neck, behind your ears, around your nose, underneath your lip, and down at the bottom of your neck as well. Also, you want to make sure that you hit your ears too, because you do not want your ears to be a different color as your face. Next, you're going to go in with that beauty blender to just pat around your face to wipe out any lines that you may have in your face from when you blended out your foundation with your makeup brush. This is going to help your makeup look soft, flat, and no lines and no creases. Next, I like to go with my e.l.f. Corrector Concealer. I highly recommend e.l.f. products lately. They have been doing me such justice. But when I'm doing my concealer, I like to go underneath the eye and around the back of the eye just a little bit. You don't ever want to cover your whole underneath eye area with a whole bunch of concealer, because it can cause problems later on down the line when blending out your concealer. A little bit. A little goes a long way. Same thing as if you're with foundation. Go back into those T-zone areas, underneath the eye, underneath the lip, down by the chin area, and of course the nose, the bridge, and the forehead. This is going to help when it comes into a part when you're using your baking powder to bake your face after concealing it. Then I go in with the same concealer brush, just patting all over again, blend. I cannot stress blending enough to y'all. Make sure your makeup is blended. You want to blend until you feel like, okay, I blended too much. I always say too much is never enough. Just keep blending. Then I go in with this Black Radiance palette that I got from Target, and I absolutely love this palette because once you open up this palette, it literally teaches you how to contour your face. If you do not know how to contour your face, you cannot mess this up because the palette is teaching you how to do it. Starting off in the middle of my cheek, I like to take the darker shade of contour and start moving it upwards in downward motions on my cheeks, just to make sure that I'm fully contoured in all the correct places and I'm not lighter in other places. I like to repeat the same step on my cheek, on the right side, and then also on my forehead. Then I like to take this Morphe fluff brush and just contour my nose right before I get into baking powder. I use the Morphe banana powder. I highly recommend this for any dark skin girls or brown skin girls that's planning on highlighting their face. This works so well. Also, when using your powder, before you put it on your face, you also want to rub some of that powder off on the back of your hands, just so when you're getting ready to put it on your face, there's no fallout and the powder seems to go on your face nice and flat without you having to worry about the powder falling off everywhere. Next, I'm going to go underneath my eye and repeat that same step as if I did on the right side of my eye. Just slightly rub it on there. You don't have to pat it. You don't have to extra dab it. Just rub it on your face. Do it on your T-zone areas, same places that you highlighted. I also add a little bit of powder on my forehead. Not too much, but just a little bit to knock off that shine from the concealer. Then next, I go in with the lighter shade of contour. And I just go in with my nose, just bringing back that contour from putting all the powder on my face, just so it can be a little bit more defined and you can see all the places that I contour on my face. I'm going to repeat that same step of using that lighter shade of contour on my cheekbone areas just to define my cheeks again and knock off some of that banana powder, so that way you can see all the spots that I contour my face. Going back in with my Real Techniques foundation brush, I'm just going to use that brush to dust off some of that powder. But once I get underneath my eye, I like to dust and pat some of that powder in. So you're going to see me dust away some powder and then also pat it in, just so that way I have a little bit of a highlighted effect underneath my eye from the banana powder. I also would recommend using a lighter concealer if you want your eyes to be highlighted underneath, but I just use my powder because I'm not too really much of a big fan of the light concealer underneath the eye. It's also very important that you make sure you dust away any excess powder on your face so that way you don't cause flashback. As you can see, I might have missed a little bit under my eye, but you always want to make sure you go back. It is okay to go back. Next, I'm going to go in with some blush. I'm not really too big on blush. I'm kind of new to blush a little bit. I'm just learning blush. So I only use 2 little dots, and I take that same beauty blender and I just blend it in on my cheek very softly. I take my time with this step because, like I said, I am still new to blush, but I'm also willing and open to learning. So if my girlies down below know anything about blush, please text me, DM me, and reach out to me and help me with some blush tips. Next, I'm going to go in and define my cheekbones with that same banana setting powder that I used when I highlighted my face earlier, with that same little triangle brush. And just with this step, you do not want to keep that powder on your face long at all whatsoever. You want to put it on and dust it off immediately because it can seem to cause flashback. I don't know what it is about that area when doing makeup, but that part always seems to cause flashback. Next, I'm just using some Fix It setting spray that I got from MAC. I've used this years ago and I just kind of went back to it and I absolutely love it. Also, I use this e.l.f. Stay On All Night spray. This is a game changer. I absolutely love this. Game changer. That's all I can say is game changer. Then for my lips, I go in with just a brown pencil that I got in the shade Cork from MAC and just line the bottom and the top part of my lips, and using a little bit of that NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Chocolate. I absolutely love NYX and MAC together. It's just the best combo ever. Using a little bit of my pink lip gloss, I'm going to take some Milani matte lipstick to put in the center of my lip and a little bit at the top, and then just rub it together and pat it together. You don't ever want to smear it too much. Use some more pink NYX Butter Gloss, rub your lips together, and then I take me some highlight. And with this highlight, I think I got this highlight from Walmart. Don't be scared to use drugstore products because they work. Taking that same fluff brush, I'm just going to buff the bridge of my nose and the bottom of my nose, and then taking my finger on my cheekbones to just warm up that highlight again, and just putting it on my face, not too much, not too light, because like I said, the blush that I used earlier, it is also a highlighter and it helps with the highlight in your face. And then when you're done, you should have something so simple and so soft. Thank you guys for watching.